Good morning! And what a morning it is. Actually, it's really cruddy outside right now. I woke up this morning and it was thundering, and I didn't see any lightning, thank God. But when it comes down to it, it's pouring down the rain, which means the trough is going to overflow. But it's not, because it's on a timer, so every 2 hours, that pump will kick on and boom, we'll be good to go. So once again, like I said, I wanted to wish everyone good morning, and I woke up to some interesting news today. I woke up to the news that a coworker, in this case Lindsay, was sick, which get better soon, Lindsay. So now I get more hours, which is awesome because now I've picked up 11 more hours, which is great because due to the way that the rent is structured out, I'm going to get to keep this, and that's awesome, because it's great. And I need the money because right now I am like shoot flat broke. I have transferred $20 into my bank account from my Disney account, a secondary checking account, or secondary savings account, depending on how you want to look at it. And that's how I'm going to get through the rest of this week, to be totally honest. And that's not good, and I know that. I'm not giving up B-dubs, I just may have to drink water or bring Crystal Light packets. Speaking of Crystal Light, haha, what a wonderful segue. We're going to talk Celebrity Apprentice, and my god, such interestingness came out of last night, and I totally didn't expect it at all. I expected the absolute conclusion to be exactly what it was, and I knew who was going to get fired, and I figured out who was going to get fired, not just because I read spoilers on the internet, but because I don't believe if they're absolutely true or not, even though a lot of things state that they are. But when it comes down to it, I had a feeling that she would get fired. So, without any further ado, this episode's called I've Been Punked by Jackson. And it was last night. And, basically, we started on the show with last week, our celebrities made what are pretty ineffective photo experiences promoting Universal Orlando Resort, and the celebrities teams both failed with product placement, and basically it didn't work, really. Like was said, why would I want to take a picture with Penn Jillette standing as a wizard in a cutout when Penn Jillette is standing 5 feet further from me, dressed as a wizard, his actual self? Obviously, everyone knows that I wanted to meet him in person and meet Penn and Teller in person, and everyone knows that last year I tried for one of the last times, so hopefully that'll happen again. But like I said, why would you want to take a picture of a cutout when the real thing's right there? Now here's another thing. Dee Snider, who got fired last week, went on a radio show that I found. It was some sort of an internet podcast about reality shows. And it's 30 minutes in, and it's a really interesting interview. Basically, we found out what I'd expected already, was the fact that Universal Orlando had another task to the mission, which was a brochure. And basically, the brochure was completely cut out for time, and apparently that's what Plan B actually could have won at, and that's what they excelled at with Power failing at. Apparently Lisa Rinna and Mary Lou Henner both worked extremely hard on it, and then they decided, yeah, let's cut it, whatever. Here's another thing, too. There's a reason why you did not see the entrance like you normally would, because this was filmed back in mid-October last year, which, for everyone that obviously knows, that was when Penn and Teller nuked Las Vegas was at Universal Orlando for Halloween Horror Nights. So, obviously that part of the park was blocked off to Celebrity Apprentice. So maybe not to show favoritism, potentially? I don't know, but still, Omarosa was a little bit peeved at that factor, that Penn and Teller had a presence in the park already, so it made sense that Penn would be a part of this task, and Penn would be into this task. But they were already there anyway. The night before they shot, they had the Penn and Teller show. They were there for, in the house, periodically throughout. Obviously, they were there the night of my birthday, but we don't want to talk about that, because I don't get pissed off at 10 o'clock in the morning. Because I have to go to work in about an hour. Or leave for work in about an hour. So, basically, Omarosa is your project manager for last week, and then of course got Dee fired. And Dee broke out a lot of different things, a lot of secrets, basically saying that he messed up, and a lot of Penn's ideas, while great, and some of them were not revealed on the show, obviously could not be worked out time-wise. So they had to go with a completely asinine idea, and basically Dee Snider fell on his own sword. And also the fact that the lovely Amanda, who's the receptionist, Amanda Miller, apparently during takes, she likes to flash people. So, yay, that's awesome. I want to go to Celebrity Apprentice now. But anyway, nah, just kidding. Anyway, no, I'm really not. No, really, seriously, I'm not kidding. A little White Goodman for everyone. So basically, pretty much, before we get to our task, we find out in this recap that Gary Busey is telling. Oh wow. Gary Busey tells straight shooter Mary Lou Henner that he has a supernatural gift of angelic love and is all forgiven. Mary Lou really doesn't seem to understand or accept this particular wow. Doesn't really seem to understand or accept this apology, but her boardroom accusation of Gary for being distracting is just simply water under the bridge now. She better get used to it because Busey is here to stay. So before we get to the task, we see Omarosa delivering her check to the Sue Duncan Children's Center. Sue mentions that, of course, this was because of Omarosa's late fiancé, Michael Clark Duncan. Omarosa, of course, fake cries one more time. But actually, you somewhat could see tears this time, but you don't all the time. So basically, Trump meets the celebrities at the Paley Center for media to announce the challenge is for Crystal Light. Yay! Everyone knows I love Crystal Light! Now this season, Crystal Light is putting over liquid drops, which obviously are basically just water-enhancing flavor drops, basically. There were 0 calories, and Crystal Light basically invites you to rethink your drink and make it more dramatic by letting the celebrities produce 5-minute mini soap operas for this task. Now the celebrities will be judged by audience reaction, creativity, execution, and brand messaging, as always. To help out, Jack Wagner and Susan Lucci are going to be along for the ride on each team. So, project managers are about to be chosen. Lisa Rennis turns to her team and says, I know I'm a natural, but we really need a director, or I'm served best as an actor. Team Power, LaToya basically steps up, just right off the get-go. So on Plan B, Lisa nominates Stephen Baldwin. Claudia's quickly... Oh, wow, long day. So Lisa nominates Stephen Baldwin, and Claudia, of course, makes a nice snarky comment about saying that Plan B has extreme acting prowess, but her team members basically have the ability to run in slow motion, like Brandy Roderick in Baywatch. Highly humorous. Baldwin's plan as project manager is to be dominant and ruthless. He wants to be like Gordon Gekko. He even says he wants to be like Gordon Gekko. So Trace doesn't really look off like he likes this at all. So basically the executives meet with each team to give them helpful hints, like it's got to be on brand, and present their product so people will want to try it, and of course 0 calorie flavor customization. Steven, to help the executives out, paraphrases back to them about how to use the product and lets them on their way. It's about making your depressing water fun and optimistic depending on how bored and depressed you're feeling. That's pretty much all there is to it. Over at Power, LaToya asks Lil Jon, with being the director, makes Lil Jon the director, and worries about Dennis Rodman even showing up. I don't know why there's such reasons why Dennis won't show up. It doesn't make any sense at all. But maybe she's got her reasons. So Omarosa is offended LaToya doesn't want her to act, especially after all her acting abilities she displayed in the boardroom, and of course her short stint on Passions. Yes, NBC's short-lived soap opera, Passions. You know, the one that was on the afternoon? Like even before you would get to normal soap operas, like at 1 or 2 in the afternoon? Excuse me. She calls being the stage manager a menial task, unlike acting. Omarosa was featured on the cover of Soap Opera Digest, of course. So, basically, chides her for trying to make her out more than the star she was born to be. Omarosa suggests a Real Housewives of Who Gives a Crap theme to the soap opera, as usual, even though none of the Real Housewives are returning for this season of All Stars, of course. Now, if Teresa would have came back, this might add a little bit of clout, but not in this case. She pushes this idea, so LaToya just, of course, as always, just backs down. And no one has any ideas anyway, so it doesn't really matter. So eventually Lil Jon has this idea to make the live audience drink every single time that they hear the dramatic music. So, that's interesting. So over at Plan B, Stephen Baldwin is focusing on writing the brand messaging into the script. How do we incorporate flavor customization to the soap opera? So Penn has this brilliant idea that's rather obvious of heightening the drama or intensity of the emotion just like you heighten the flavor of your water. Brilliant idea. So over at Team Power, which is now to be further known as Team Overpowered by Omarosa, Omarosa tears LaToya to shreds for not letting her go get props with Claudia and Dennis. Now it's clear that everyone is already planning for this boardroom and not clearly for the success of the team. LaToya and Omarosa get into an argument over whom is more disrespectful. So this causes LaToya to finally stand up and raise her voice. Omarosa tells LaToya to look up good leadership, possibly on the internet, and of course, this drama isn't even happening in the name of Crystal Light. But out at Lord & Taylor for costumes and props, Omarosa continuously calls LaToya for a direction on every decision. She simply refers to her as my project manager, or the project manager. She never says her name once, and usually hands the phone over to Claudia every single time. So Claudia is basically dialoguing between both people, and she's like the middle girl in between. So basically, she's not going to be held responsible for anything because she got permission for everything that she is doing. That's smart, yet savvy, yet evil strategy from Omarosa, but it works. So things are running rather smoothly over at Plan B, though they've separated out 3 mini-scenes to go with the customized drama angle. And Trace thinks Susan Lucci is a goddess, and puts her over continuously. Gary really isn't talking too much, but he's out there seemingly, and of course Susan Lucci is absolutely perfect in everything she does. So Jack Wagner comes in for Power, and he deems Crystal Light drops as really good. That's interesting. He takes a drink and he says they're really good. I mean, it might be smacking right there. I'm not quite sure. Depends on what flavor he had. So just as they're practicing, Arsenio walks in. Of course, he's one of the executives in this situation. He's not the executive, but obviously he's one of the people that's going to make the decision. One of the judges for this task, actually. There you go. I keep forgetting that, it's kind of strange how Arsenio actually won his season, because obviously I can't believe I'm actually saying this, I was so for Clay Aiken winning, and I think that Clay should have won, and he could have won, and I don't know why he didn't. But it's all about Magic Johnson, it's all about Irv, and pass me the ball. But the thing, to the wrong side, obviously. So basically, Omarosa steps aside from the rehearsal to take care of some personal business, which is revealed to be a tabloid threatening to release the frantic 911 call of Michael Clark Duncan the night of his death. Now, LaToya is quickly ready to target her for that, and you can't really chide her for going away to take care of something that important. So, I mean, she's human after all. She doesn't seem it sometimes, but she's human. So the next day, Omarosa doesn't show up, so Dennis Rodman calls her the saboteur. How appropriate. Everyone enjoys Claudia in her role as a villainess much more, and basically there's a lot more harmony in the team, all thanks to Crystal Light and the fact that Omarosa is not there. So in the rehearsal for Plan B, Stephen Baldwin is basically being an over-controlling director at this point, so Penn's quite annoyed. At this rehearsal, Stephen tells Mary Lou not to speak in a way as if she's already made a decision as a stage manager. Trace tells Stephen point blank, "Be nice to Mary Lou or I'm gonna kill you." Okay. Thank you, Trace Atkins. In the middle of the tech rehearsal, Omarosa walks in rather unannounced, saying she couldn't let her team down. So LaToya thinks it's because Omarosa was too afraid and knew the other girls would act better than her. Okay, sure. So Power performs first. Lil Jon hands out the paper cups of Crystal Light liquid for the less fun version of a drinking game, which I think is okay, because I don't drink. Forget you, reviewer. I'll just take your steeds. But anyway, when the music plays, the executives sometimes drink from their cups and sometimes don't, but it gets very redundant very quickly. And the sound cue is too long. I mean, it goes on too long, and they get drawn out way too much, and sometimes there's too many in order to take drinks, and I mean, you're literally going to have a sugar high by the time you're done. So they don't do that. And of course, you have the very lovely and beautiful Ivanka sitting there with Arsenio and the executives in the front row the whole time. So, this script was somewhat funny, and LaToya once again makes a flub, like what happened with Penn during the last time that we had a task like this, when, of course, he called Walgreens Walmart, and that was last season, and this time we had LaToya plugging the Crystal Light liquid drops, reading from her hand. She was rocking it up right there, and basically called the flavors Crystal Light Liquid Mango Passion Lemonade. I don't think that's real. And Crystal Light Strawberry Liquid Lemonade. Okay, liquid was not in the right placement there, but oops. So the branding was wrong, but it didn't seem like it really mattered in the long run because that's not something the executives really picked up on. But really strange because sometimes they do and sometimes they don't. So basically, Plan B goes on with their performance rather quickly, and both teams name a character Crystal. How appropriate. The first scene, basically just a little bit of romance / flavor drops. It's rather comical. Trace comes in as a shy computer tech. He's got his hair up in a tight ponytail and he's wearing glasses. And it's really funny. The next time, of course, Penn puts more Crystal Light in, and he's from Cowboy Pool Services. He's wearing his cowboy hat, and he looks like he's ready to shoot a porno. So, pretty much that's what happens until Gary Busey comes in and just enchants the entire audience like he always does. So, basically, after this, we see the final one. Of course, Penn puts pretty much the whole thing in there. It's like, alright, let's do this. And the next thing you know, you see Lisa Rinna, who's been there this entire time. She said, I'm going to get into something a little more comfortable. I don't know why I turned her into a diva right there, but I did. And I'm going to get into something a little more comfortable. And she goes to the back, and she comes back, and bam! Susan Lucci is here. And Trace Atkins is wearing a pale blue Crystal Light tank top. And he rips it and goes, Crystal! Nice streetcar reference, that was nice. But anyway, and then picks her up in his arms, and like Fabio, carries her off, and of course, she takes the hat off, and we fade to black. So, yeah, they won, without any question, and I truly believe that. So, on the brand, the Crystal Light executives are upbeat and optimistic with their feedback for both teams, and they're never overbearing, they're always smiling, keeping it light. Now, they didn't like the fact that Steven's team only focused on one of the brands instead of both, but they love Trace Atkins. Keep that in mind. So in the boardroom, LaToya thinks everyone did well and names Claudia and Brandy as her all-stars. She says Omarosa is absolutely not one of the stars. LaToya tries to explain how difficult and distracting Omarosa was during the task. Omarosa simply says, I'm a leader. So we shift the focus to Plan B, and the executives didn't like how they only focus on the one flavor. Steven and Mary Lou both identify Gary Busey as the weakest player, and Trace of course agrees. So Gary basically raises his hand, like at school, and says, I did everything I was asked to do. Lisa agrees. Gary is basically a useless team member, but he's quite adorable, and he can be useful in places. So when going over successes and failures in both teams, Arsenio quickly asks Omarosa why she wasn't up on stage because he wanted to see her up there. So she breaks down into tears, and she says she'll never choose Apprentice over Michael, and LaToya looks like she's not buying it. She gets into a fight with Arsenio. Claudia and Brandy whisper they should bring it up, that it might be a little too soon for her to be in this game. But in the end, it's all for naught, because Steven's team finally wins, despite only using one of the flavors and underutilizing Susan Lucci. Trump suggests maybe LaToya's team lost because Omarosa wasn't there the whole time. I doubt that. I think they lost because their concept wasn't the greatest. Anyway, Stephen Baldwin won $50,000 for his mom's breast cancer research fund, and Gary Busey, of course, cries in the green room because everyone tore him down. Now, back in the boardroom, hearing a very strange fact, Trunk asked Rodman and Lil Jon about asked Rodman about his tattoos and Lil Jon about his grill. So Lisa basically says this is kind of a waste of time, like what she asked about her lips in the first episode. Omarosa, of course, owns the boardroom like she always does and redirects the conversation away from her absence and towards LaToya's critical error in brand integration, which of course wasn't even brought up by the executives. So obviously that was completely pushed under the rug. Ivanka quickly points out, though, the brand was understood but used more as a prop than something that drove the plot. So Omarosa is even better at changing the subject and redirecting than Donald Trump is. Now she's going to take her team down one by one. LaToya, who is just used to asking for things and Donald agreeing for sake of good television, asked to fire someone from her team as project manager. Of course, we got a commercial after this. We come back and Donald, of course, denies her immediately. She calls Omarosa a witch, which is not really even an insult anymore. Basically, she's saying, "Oh, we resorted to name calling?" So LaToya chooses. Okay, here's the strange part. LaToya chooses Brandy and Dennis Rodman to come back into the boardroom. Ivanka drops her pen. She's so shocked. Everyone quickly demands an explanation. So we quickly get to the... I'm going to say exactly what everyone else is saying and what this reviewer said too, and it's very true. Trump won't fire Omarosa. That's what we're agreeing on right now. She's going to have to screw up something fierce. I do not mean to use an Aubrey term, but miss you, Aubrey. But when it comes down to it, she has to screw up something fierce in order to get fired from this season. And you know what? I think it's coming rather sooner rather than later because she's getting a little bit harder to deal with each and every week. And her team looks like they're going to mutiny against her at some point. And I'm sure it's going to happen real quick unless they flip the teams around, which I think they might do next week. I don't know that for a fact. I'm just guessing. So, and it won't be, even if it's not next week, it'll be very soon. So, pretty much... in this case, LaToya doesn't want to fight Omarosa in the boardroom because she knows she'll get fired anyway, so basically she throws Dennis Rodman, who really didn't do much in this task at all, under the bus, and throws Brandy, who is her sacrificial lamb. Okay, I somewhat get that. It's interesting business strategy. If she knew she was going to get fired, why wouldn't she bring someone back that also could get fired? It's too much of a foregone conclusion she was going to get the axe this week, especially bringing them back. So basically, LaToya says Omarosa's full of lies, and basically LaToya has pretty much wrote her ticket out of the show. So Trump claims he might have fired Omarosa, sure I believe that, and wasn't buying her tearless show of emotion. LaToya looks rather surprised by this. LaToya should be fired just for being so stupid and aggravating her team. I agree. Arsenio earned his weight as a judge tonight by basically questioning everyone on their questionable choices. And basically saying Celebrity Apprentice is beyond a show now, and claiming Omarosa probably would have been fired had LaToya brought her back. Trump quickly fires LaToya. Next week, we are getting another task, and I can't tell who the project managers are going to be, but it's going to be interesting, and another gasp boardroom moment that apparently hasn't happened in the entire history of The Apprentice, so who knows what's going to happen then. Okay, here's another thing. This season's interesting, it's entertaining, and I'm quickly starting to like Trace Atkins, and not just because he's my final two pick with Penn Jillette, obviously. I'm getting the fact that I like this guy's character, honestly. Stephen Baldwin, I could take him or leave him at this point. Gary Busey is just there for ratings. I didn't think Lisa and Mary Lou Henner were going to be strong forces to be reckoned with, but they definitely are. Lil Jon is kind of biding his time until he does anything. Dennis Rodman's not really doing anything at all. Brandy is kind of too shy, but she still speaks up when she needs to. Claudia is a lot more impactful than I thought she ever would be, especially because I didn't know who she was. And both teams are more fairly balanced than I believe they would be in the long run. So this has been a good season so far, and we're only 3 episodes in. So next week we get another episode, which of course I'm going to watch later because the WDW Today Live podcast is next Sunday night. So that's going to be what we're going to talk about there. And once again, like I said, real quickly, I'm going to go over something as well. I want to thank you guys for what you've done lately. And I've had this little channel since November of last year. And I'm currently 32 hits away from 3,000 hits. I know that's just a drop in the bucket to most people. But to someone like me, who's shooting videos daily on an iPod Touch, and not editing them, and letting my flub-ups be seen to the world, I think it's pretty damn good, to be totally honest. And I'm very happy with that. So thank you guys for watching. More content coming in the future. Of course, tonight, Monday Night Raw, we're still on the road to WrestleMania. 2 weeks away from WrestleMania. And actually, a little bit longer than that. So WrestleMania, of course, April 7th. And, yeah. But anyway, it's going to be a fun time. And like I said, later this week, obviously, tonight we're going to talk... Well, tonight we're not going to talk. Tomorrow, of course, we're going to talk Raw. Wednesday and Thursday, of course, we'll figure it out when we get there. Friday, we're going to talk TNA Impact. Saturday, we may talk SmackDown. Quite haven't decided yet. Sunday, we're going to talk AJ's Weekend Movie Reviews. And Monday, we're going to talk Celebrity Apprentice. So I'm getting a schedule down here. Once I figure out what we're doing for Wednesday and Thursday, we'll be a little bit more set in stone. So there's actually going to be a schedule posted in the near future of the channel's shows that you're going to be able to watch. And I'm going to have new content coming from new people in the near future. So maybe not necessarily new people, but a new version of things. So keep watching for that. So I'm going to get off here. I got to go to work, leave for work in about 45 minutes. So I need to take a shower and get ready for work, start my day, and walk in this monsoon outside. So until tomorrow, that's all I got to say about that.